Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. My name's Charlotte and this vlog is going to be a report or review, if you will, of our trip to Orlando, Florida back in February 2022. Now we travelled there back in mid-February until the end of February for 12 nights, and our travel party consisted of myself, my fiance Rob, my daughter Paisley, who is 6 years old, my mother and her partner Sean. So we were a travel party of 5 of various ages, and I'll start this vlog from the beginning. I'll talk through the booking process, who we booked with, who we flew with, our car hire, where we stayed, parks, food, tips and tricks. It'll all be here. So if you've got a trip coming up, I hope this vlog is helpful for you and your planning, and hopefully you will enjoy this video. So going right back, we booked this trip back in summer of 2020 to originally go to Orlando in September 2021. Now we all know that due to the pandemic, the US travel borders still were not open in September 2021, which meant our trip got pushed back. So at the time we were postponing our trip, there was no word on when the US borders may reopen. So it was a guess, it was a gamble. We thought about going for Easter time, but we eventually settled on February half term of 2022. And luckily we were able to travel then. So all worked out well. We booked through Ocean, Florida, and within our booking we had our flights, which were with Virgin Atlantic, we had our villa, we had our Universal tickets, and we had our car hire. So that was booked within the package, but we did hire the car via Alamo. So when the time finally came to travel, we made our way to Heathrow Airport, which was brand new for me. I usually go to Gatwick because I believe British Airways and Virgin Atlantic would fly from Gatwick prior pandemic, but things have changed, and this time we flew with Virgin Atlantic from Heathrow Airport. The airport was absolutely fine, a lot bigger than Gatwick, so bear that in mind if you're going there for the first time. But the flight itself was perfect. Virgin are just awesome, really. I've not ever had a bad experience with them. I believe the plane configuration was 242 because my mother and Sean sat in the window seats. We sat in the middle and we had an empty seat as well. So Rob, Paisley and I managed to actually spread out across 4 seats, which was quite nice. There were actually quite a few empty seats on the flight. I don't know if that's still the case, but coming back as well with Virgin Atlantic, the plane was half empty. So Rob moved up a few aisles and slept the whole way home. Paisley and I had a row of 4 to ourselves, and we could all just spread out. It was really, really nice. The plane food was standard plane food, left a lot to be desired, but what do you expect? You're in the air and you're going on your holidays, it's just to tide you over. But snacks and drinks and everything like that were brilliant, as always, with Virgin Atlantic. When we arrived at MCO Airport in Orlando, I swear we had the quickest journey through customs, baggage claim, getting the car and getting out of that airport that I've ever had. And I believe this was actually my 10th trip to Orlando, and I've never been through that airport quite so fast. The immigration queue was basically non-existent, moved quite fast, the baggage was there, and if you went to Orlando pre-pandemic, I'm sure you're well aware of how painful that airport could be, but we sailed through, which was amazing. We landed at our scheduled time, sailed through, went and picked up the car from Alamo, which was all very, very easy. We got a sat-nav as well as part of our car hire package and a car seat, so you can book all of that on at the time of booking your car. And yeah, in retrospect, we probably should have got a bigger car because 5 people's worth of luggage, especially when traveling with myself, it's quite a lot, and it was a bit of a squeeze with the luggage getting to and from our villa. Generally speaking, day to day, the use of the car for 5 people was absolutely fine, and we had a mid-size SUV, but bear luggage in mind when choosing your car type. As I say, our villa was booked with Ocean, Florida, and we did choose to book a 4-bedroom deluxe villa. It was on the Windsor Hills resort, and it was lovely. The reason we chose 4 bedrooms over 3 is that that guaranteed that the villa would have Wi-Fi, and it was also deluxe, so we knew it was going to be of a really good standard. We did choose a specific villa as well, so we'd seen the floor plan, we'd seen pictures of the rooms, the pool. We could put it into Google Maps, see exactly where on the resort it was situated, and yeah, it was amazing. So much space. We loved it, especially for a family trip like what we'd had, and it was my first time in a villa. Previously, I've only ever travelled with, say, one other adult and Paisley, or just one other adult. So to have a party of 5, it was so nice to all be under that same roof, have a communal space, have a kitchen, and it just felt like a home away from home, really. We loved it. I would definitely stay in a villa again. It was particularly nice for mornings and evenings because we could sit out by our pool and have breakfast, and then when we came home from the parks in the evening, Paisley would be tired, she's only 6, so she could go to bed and we could all chill in the living room together. I'd often have a nice glass of wine, we'd watch the telly and just unwind really from a busy day in the parks. I know you can sit around the pool and things at night in a normal hotel, be it on site or off site around the Orlando area, but when you've got young children, it's quite nice to be able to put them to bed, let them sleep and be safe, but still be able to enjoy a bit more grown-up time. I wouldn't have any hesitations about staying in a villa again, and even if we were to travel as a smaller group, I would look into perhaps a condo or a much smaller kind of studio type villa to accommodate maybe 3 people. I'm really glad I got to have that experience as well. If you've been around for a while and you're familiar with the channel, you'll know that I used to be a Disney Vacation Club member. I joined back in 2014 with Paisley's father. I'm not a member anymore, but I did have a good kind of 6 years being a member and managed to stay in nearly all of the deluxe Walt Disney World resorts. I've also stayed in moderate and value resorts, love them all. I've stayed at multiple Universal resorts as well, and in off-site hotels on the 192 in Kissimmee. So I've got a good kind of background of various different places to stay in the Orlando area, and trying a villa had always been on the list. So super glad I did it and would happily do it again. In terms of the parks that we visited, obviously Walt Disney World, but we also visited Universal Studios. So we bought 14-day park tickets for both parks, which gave us full flexibility on what days we wanted to visit and at what points in the trip. Now, at the time we traveled, and still at the time of recording this video, you do have to book your Walt Disney World park reservations in advance. It's recommended that you do this as soon as you purchase your tickets, just to get those dates secured and have the parks that you want to visit booked ready for you. I know that when we were out there and I did try to amend some of our park bookings, I wasn't able to because they were fully booked, and it wasn't just kind of one park was fully booked. There were days where all of the parks were fully booked. So luckily we had pre-booked and did have parks booked every single day. However, when it came to wanting to perhaps change them, if our plans had changed slightly, we could not do that. So always make sure you have a park booked in order to make the most of those tickets. Universal doesn't have a reservation system in place currently. I don't think it has at all since the pandemic or beforehand, so there's a lot more flexibility there. We also visited Typhoon Lagoon, which is the Walt Disney World water park that's open currently. There's also Blizzard Beach, however that water park has not reopened just yet since everything closed down. There's also Volcano Bay over at Universal Studios, which we haven't actually visited yet, but watch this space because I've got a feeling we're going to be there soon. As I mentioned previously, we travelled in February, and I believe that our experience of February might be quite different to the standard experience of an Orlando trip in February. So I'd always believed that February was a bit of a quieter time to visit. However, February 2022 was insane. I've never seen crowds like this at Walt Disney World. Whether that's because a lot of people from the UK had rescheduled trips from all the cancellations, or whether that's just the norm now with it being the 50th anniversary and all of those celebrations going on, I don't know, but it was very, very busy. There were mornings where we got there prior to rope drop, but the queues were still just insane. Queue times for rides were so long. For example, Tower of Terror, both times that we were in Hollywood Studios, was over 2 hours all day. I've never seen anything like that. It was probably the busiest ride actually in that park, which is unusual because you've got Rise of the Resistance and Slinky Dog Dash and these newer, perhaps equally as thrilling rides, but the classics like Tower of Terror were even crazy busy. There were queues to go to the bathrooms, queues to get drinks and snacks. The Starbucks queues were crazy, busier than some of the rides I think with Starbucks. So bear it in mind and be prepared. You're at Walt Disney World, so it's still going to be absolutely magical, but just with a few more waits. Something that had changed quite majorly since our last visit, which was back in November 2019, was the introduction of Genie Plus and the Lightning Lanes and the lack of Fast Pass Plus. And to me, this change is very, very unwelcomed. I loved Fast Pass Plus and being able to book your rides, have them all secure and know what you were up to that day in advance. So there was no stress on the day. It was all done prior to travel and sorted, ready to go. So you didn't even have to think about it on the day. All you had to do was have your 3 first passes and then book extras if you could, if you made your way through your free reservations. Now with Genie Plus, you have to make your reservation on the day and it's one at a time, and I did not care for it. I'm not gonna lie guys, we bought it I think on 2 occasions and managed to purchase a Lightning Lane for our chosen ride that day, and then the Genie Plus reservations. By the time it got to booking our second ride of the day, there was no availability. Now whether this is just because it was crazy busy when we were there, I don't know. Whether that's the norm for Genie Plus, I don't know. I have seen some people online have a bit of a better experience with it, so it could have just been luck of the draw for us. If you do plan on using Genie Plus, please do some research on it and how to best utilize that service so that you're fully prepared and can get the most out of your money on the day. Park hopping at Walt Disney World is also different than it used to be. So back in the day, the good old days, pre-pandemic, you could go to any park at any time should you have a ticket that would allow that. Now you have to visit your chosen park that you have a reservation for. For example, you have a reservation for Magic Kingdom. You have to physically go to the Magic Kingdom, scan in with your Magic Band or ticket, and then at 2 p.m. you can scan into another park, even if that other park is full on the app. So as an example, we want to go to Epcot, but you look at the calendar and the reservation map and it's full. If you've already had a reservation for that day at another park and visited that park, you can park hop to a second park even if it's full. I checked that with guest services because all the parks were full, yet we still wanted to park hop, and they said, yeah, as long as you had a reservation, you can do that. The app and the calendar of availability is just for new reservations for a set park on that day. It doesn't interfere with park hopping, which is great. So one of my favorite parts about going to Orlando is the food, whether it be Disney food, off-site, American, restaurants, Universal, you name it. I love the food out in Florida. And on this trip, we did get a really good variation of restaurants in and tried a lot of new things. So I've made a little list here on my phone and I'll just talk through them one by one. So some of the Disney World restaurants that we visited were the Crystal Palace in Magic Kingdom. Very, very lovely food, but not back to character interactions within the restaurant when we were there. And I don't believe that is the case still as of today, June 2022. So quite an expensive buffet lunch without the characters, but always a fun experience anyway, and it's a beautiful, beautiful restaurant setting. So we had a good time. On Valentine's Day, we went to the Yachtsman Steakhouse, which is a favorite of mine. and I hadn't been there since we stayed at the yacht club back in 2018, but it was still awesome. And if you're planning to visit Yachtsman Steakhouse, please try the garlic bread, because they bring out a whole garlic like warmed up and it's all melted, and you can spread it on that bread, and it's the most dreamy garlic bread I've ever had in my life. I dream about this garlic bread. They're the only proper dining reservations in terms of sit-down restaurants we visited at Walt Disney World this time. Other than that, it was a lot of quick service for us. We visited Casey's Corner in the Magic Kingdom for hot dogs and fries, which is standard but a must do when at Walt Disney World. It's a classic and nice and easy, always yummy. We visited the Harambe Market in Animal Kingdom, which was a new experience for us, and really enjoyed that as well. We had various bits and bobs to eat around the World Showcase in Epcot. It was the Festival of the Arts when we were there, so we got to try some of those booths, which again was brand new for me. I've never been at this time of year before, never managed to visit the Festival of the Arts. Usually it's Flower and Garden or Food and Wine Festival for me, so this was a lot of fun, and Festival of the Arts was actually very cool. What I will say about the Disney restaurants, sit-down restaurants in particular, is that they're very expensive. Some of the off-site restaurants that we visited were probably half the price, and sometimes an even nicer meal as well. So be sure to have a look at the menus online and the pricing for these Disney restaurants. Bear in mind that there will be a tip on top of that as well, which can get quite high. If you're visiting one of the signature dining restaurants like the Yachtsman Steakhouse and have to put a 20% tip or more on top of that, it really adds up. That's the main reason we only did 2 sit-down restaurants on property and the rest off-site. Another reason for eating off-site a lot is that we were staying off-site, so we would drive up and down the 192 quite a lot, where there is a ton of restaurants. So as we were driving past there each evening, it made sense to come off-site, eat off-site, save some money and try some new restaurants. So here are some of the off-site restaurants that we tried in the Orlando area. We visited Ponderosa in Kissimmee, which is cheap and cheerful. You order your main and then there's a buffet as well. A lot of food for not a lot of money. Don't expect kind of roses and champagne and everything, because it's not. It's very bog standard, cheap and cheerful, but good food. We ate at Panda Express, which was over in City Walk at Universal. Very good value for money, tasty food, which we all enjoyed and would definitely be back there. The Cheesecake Factory, which we went to at Mall at Manila, which was insane. We loved it. So much food, unreal. Like Rob and I shared, and we're 2 grown adults with very healthy appetites, and that was enough food for us. The cheesecake is just unbelievable, so make sure you leave space for that as well, and I'd highly recommend going to Cheesecake Factory. Another restaurant we went to, which was at Icon Park, is the Sugar Factory, and I did include a lot of footage of this restaurant in the vlog from that day. It was so much fun. Like, it was completely party atmosphere in there. It was crazy. The music was loud, there was birthday cakes and candles coming out every 5 minutes, celebrations going on. It was quite wild, to be honest. I think my mother and her partner were a bit unsure of it, but it was a lot of fun. The food wasn't amazing and it was quite expensive, but I think it was more for the experience than the culinary delights offered. I'd go again. A little gem for us was the Wild Side Barbecue Smokehouse on the 192. Now, from the outside, it doesn't look like anything special, but when you get inside, it reminded me of like a traditional American restaurant, like a smokehouse that you might see on a TV program. And the food was incredible. This was probably one of all of our favorite meals of the trips. The portions were huge, the prices were reasonable, our server was amazing that day, drinks were good, lovely atmosphere, and yeah, really nice. We just loved that whole experience, and I think that's going to become a bit of a staple for our trips going forward. We also went to IHOP a couple of times for breakfast or brunch, and that's again, standard International House of Pancakes, unlimited pancakes, plus gorgeous scrambled eggs and bacon, really low pricing. What I will say is that it was busier than usual and we did have to wait a few times, and I think across the board with the restaurants in Orlando there's a bit of a shortage of staff, so just bear that in mind. Arrive at your chosen restaurant with plenty of time. Don't kind of go with the thought you're going to be in and out within half an hour, because currently that's not really the case. Hopefully it changes going forward. And another new restaurant that we tried, well, new for us anyway, was the Outback Steakhouse, which is a chain. It's like an Australian steakhouse. It was really nice, especially the loaded fries. I could eat them all day long. It was so good. I was in such a food coma that night. I didn't even end my vlog, but we loved it there. We didn't really have any bad experiences with food on this vacation. We enjoyed everywhere we ate, and I'm really glad we got to try some new places and get quite a good selection of restaurants in the time that we were there. Something else that I tried, which was brand new for me this time, was an app called DoorDash. I'll insert a little image of it here for you guys, but it was kind of like Just Eat that we have here, or Uber Eats, Deliveroo type service, but for all the chains in Orlando. And I downloaded it before I went and was just reading through, getting hungrier and hungrier at all these cool places that we could order food from. Because we were in our villa, it worked really well. Like, when we first got in on the first night, my mother and Sean went out to Walmart to do a bit of shopping whilst we unpacked and we got Paisley settled, and then I used DoorDash to order Chick-fil-A, and it came. It was delicious and so easy. Like, we didn't have to go and get anything. It was reasonably priced in comparison to going out for a meal, and worked really well. I also ordered a Little Caesars pizza a bit later on in the trip when we got back from Universal, and that worked perfectly as well. So if you're thinking of getting any kind of delivery food services, I definitely recommend DoorDash. In terms of apps to have on your phone, I'd also say 100% make sure you've got all the theme park apps like the Walt Disney World, Universal, even SeaWorld has an app, just to have your queue times and opening times and everything like that on your phone and there to hand. Also, before you travel out, if you plan to use Uber or Lyft, make sure you've got the app set up, all your payment methods linked, so it's all nice and easy for you to use whilst you're out there. We did use Uber a handful of times when we separated from the rest of the group. So there was one afternoon where Rob and myself spent some time over at Disney Springs, whereas my mum, Sean and Paisley went back to the villa to chill in the pool. We then took an Uber from Springs to the barbecue smokehouse on the 192 to meet them for dinner. That was all nice and easy, very straightforward and reasonably priced, but it was quite a short journey, so yeah, there wasn't much to go wrong. It worked well for us. Similarly, we had a day at Universal without the parents, so we met up with some friends. So we got a lift there with the family, but on the way back we chose to get an Uber back to the villa, and there was a little bit of a wait on that one. The Uber driver did say that it was very busy at that time and there was a bit of a shortage on drivers, and I think that's been quite a generalised theme this year in Orlando. So be prepared if you're going to use those services to perhaps wait a bit longer than you're used to, perhaps order your car a bit in advance rather than ordering it when you're ready and then having a bit of a wait. Do a bit of pre-planning there. Something else that had been affected by the pandemic and probably high crowd levels as well was the merch on offer. There was quite a lot that was sold out or just not available. One example was when we were in Epcot in the UK pavilion. I just wanted a Cadbury's chocolate bar, and I know they're super expensive in there because they're not normal to have there in America. But I wanted one anyway because I missed my English chocolate. But there were no English snacks. They hadn't been able to get them imported. It was just an effect from the pandemic. And there were a few different merchandise instances where that had happened. There were just things that weren't available that always used to be available. In Walmart, it was the same. Some of the shelves were completely empty. Like, I was looking for some sweet tart sours, which are my favorite candy, across this whole trip. I looked in Walmart, I looked in Publix, I looked in Walgreens, all sorts of places, and could not find them anywhere. Still dreaming of that candy. If you're traveling with a young child and will need the use of a stroller, Walt Disney World and Universal do have these available to rent each day, and the more days that you book and pay for, the cheaper the rate becomes. So I'll insert the costs down below. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll pop it on the screen for you guys. We did this quite a lot of the time because my original plan was that we'd use the stroller that was available in our villa. Now, we'd seen on the paperwork that the owners left a stroller. There was high chairs, cots, what have you, within there for the visitors to the villa to use, and I'd seen there was a stroller, and I thought, well, let's check this out, because Paisley's 6, she doesn't have a stroller at home now, but when you're at Disney World and Universal and these parks doing up to 20,000 steps a day, her little legs can't keep up, and if she's tired and unhappy, then we're all going to be unhappy. So I was more than happy for her to have the use of a stroller as and when she needed it on our trip. The villa stroller we took out the first few days, and it was a bit of a nightmare, as kind as it was for the villa owners to share it with us. One of the wheels was dodgy and it didn't have a basket underneath, and it wasn't ideal. Like, the wheel kept veering off, so you'd be strolling and then you'd be like, ooh! It was like a ride in itself, to be honest. So that wasn't really working out. The strollers in Walmart for Paisley's kind of size, to be sturdy and a decent stroller, were way over $100, and I thought, oh, if they're reasonable, I'll just buy one and get rid of it, like leave it there, give it to someone else, whatever. But I didn't want to spend over $100 doing that. So we ended up renting them at the parks each day, which worked well, but did add up in price. So I think next time, if I wanted a stroller, I'm going to take it with me like I always used to. We used to have a really good silver cross stroller that folded up quite small. We'd take it on the plane and just have it with us that whole trip, and that probably saw us through 4 or 5 trips back when Paisley was a lot smaller. Some of the non-theme park places that we visited whilst in Orlando was the mall at Manila, which I mentioned before, for a little bit of shopping. That's where I like to get my Bath & Body Works candles. We went to like a game shop and Paisley got some new Switch games. We went to Abercrombie & Fitch, Cheesecake Factory, and just did some general shopping. It's a really, really beautiful shopping centre, and I love going there and just walking around and being in the mall. I really like the atmosphere, and probably go shopping there most times I'm in Orlando. So if you haven't been, it's definitely one to check out if you like your shopping, as well as the premium outlets as well for some good deals and bargains. We went to Icon Park, which was before the very, very unfortunate accident happened there earlier on this year. We had a really nice time there. I would visit again for restaurants and the wheel and things. The parents also did some crazy golf as well. There was the Mighty Jungle Golf in Kissimmee that they did, and they really, really enjoyed. You've also got the Pirates Cove Golf on iDrive, and the Walt Disney World Golf, and Universal as well, actually. So if you like a bit of mini golf, there's lots of different choices, and they're all really, really fun. So all in all, we had a really, really great trip. Loved going with family and loved being back in the magic after such a long time away. The magic's still there, although things are a little bit different, but it's all good fun, and I can't wait to be back. So yes, I think I've covered everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I hope this video has been helpful for you for future trips and planning. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Come over and follow me on Instagram. Send me a message. I love to chat. More than happy to answer any questions that you may have as well. Thank you guys, as always, for watching, and I'll see you real soon. Bye guys.